My name is Naral.
My name is Muhammad Aman Sheikh.
My name's Leia Subihano.
My name is Maria Lucia.
My first name is Muhammad Aman, which in itself comprises of two names. The Muhammad is a prefix, and in our religion, it stands for the name of the Prophet, and it's used as a sort of a sign of respect. It means protection and security and peace.
Lucia means full of light.
It's pronounced as Hassan, and it's actually the name of Prophet Muhammad's grandson. Quite literally, it means a person who does good deeds.
It's what my parents gave me. I'm of Filipino heritage.
Nur, the first part of my name, means light, and Al means to take. So I'm taker of light, and Nur actually is holy light. My last name is Çokçetin, or Çokçetin in Turkish, and that means very brave. And I think when I think about my name, it's just not descriptive of me at all. Not because I'm not brave, but just when I have to say my name out loud, I'm not very brave at all. Naral Çokçetin, such a mouthful and such a big burden to put on somebody else to try and get that name right.
It was a big day for me. I was being awarded for completing one of the major certifications in cybersecurity, and I was so thrilled that day. And right before I was being called up on stage, I clearly remember the professor who was calling me on stage, he totally butchered my name. And he just pronounced it in a very weird way. He said Muhammad Anam, I think. And to be fair, Anam is a woman's name. It's a very feminine name, and it changes the meaning completely. It changes my identity. And it was a very big moment for me going on stage to receive that certification. The fact that my name was mispronounced just before that major event was a huge factor that made me feel like, oh, that just made it, that just made it bad, the whole moment.
So I just used to introduce myself as, hi, I'm Jaime, nice to meet you. And people used to get back to me with, sorry, did you say Jaime? And I said, yeah, Jaime is fine. And they laughed, and I just didn't understand the response. So I also laughed, like, eh. So anyways, I Googled the thing, and I realized it was a body part that I didn't want to be associated with particularly. So that's when I started to go by Jamie.
My full name is Hassan Godrawala. And everyone in that meeting was introduced with their full name, except me. I was only introduced with my first name, which was incorrectly pronounced as Hassan. No one made any comment about it. And, when senior people don't even jump in and say, you know what, can you tell us how to pronounce your name? It kind of made you feel like, wow, is my name really that hard?
I think that, mispronouncing someone's name does take away a little bit of their power. It does take away that equal standing for them. It puts them in a position where they're already starting off on the back foot. I don't feel confident to say, actually, this is how you say my name. And if it's in a group setting and that person starts off the tone by introducing you in the wrong way, often what happens is the entire cohort that you're with will refer to you in that way because they're looking to that person who's in the position of power, who's in the position of authority. And it's very hard to then correct that and say, actually, this is how you say my name, because it feels like such a trivial point in such an important setting.
When I was going through my citizenship tests and English tests and police records and all the things that, after a lot of work and proofs to become Australian and to prove that I was, a good Aussie. When I was trying to fill in the forms for my name, both of my names have accents, so it's Maria Lucia. So when I put my name, I couldn't fill in the form because it would say that my name was invalid. And literally that was the word. And I couldn't find out why until I realized that in English you don't have the accent. That accent is also something that helps people that understand how accent work to actually say it the right way, or it's at least helpful to understand where it goes. And I thought it was very unfair because, this case was an accent, but there are entire names with completely different alphabets. And how are people becoming Australian if they cannot even write their name correctly? Yeah, I think that was a bit, it was already a strong process, a very challenging process, where you also brief some things about your culture. So the fact that my name was invalid was quite symbolic.
Because it's multiple things happening, right? Like it's just on the name. It's about me having to source my dietary requirement, which is halal food everywhere. It's about trying to create time in your workspace and facilities to pray. It's about trying to have a beard, which is not a fashionable beard by any sense, in the workplace. It's all these things that you're doing. So, I'm not going to come to the team drinks because I don't drink and I don't want to go to a pub. If somebody mispronounces my name, as much as it bothers me, I learn to let it go, because I can't be, for my own mental well-being more than anything, I can't be fighting on so many fronts. If he wants to mispronounce my name, because there are all these other things that I feel I want to get, and I have to live with it.
The other thing that happens when you don't know how to pronounce other person's name is that you will feel very uncomfortable and you will never say their name again. So you don't name them. Like you're talking directly to them, or you're referring to them as the student. And it's very important to be named because it makes you present in a conversation. It could create opportunities for that person. If you don't remember someone's name, if you don't know how to pronounce it, or if you don't name them, you won't suggest them for a project, for example. So the consequences that could have is quite important.
Part of it is also you feel a loss of identity, culture. Like my name connects me to my family, to my culture. It has a meaning that not everybody has to know, but it's important, and that's the first interaction you ever have with someone is usually, what's your name? But when I think about it, it's not that hard, because I was having a conversation with my best friend's got a 3-year-old, and she's also got a difficult to say name, but she's got a very cute nickname. And I said, oh, well, what about my name, Naral? It's really hard to say. Do you want to find a nickname for me? And she's like, Naral? No, that's not hard to say. And I thought, if a 3-year-old is telling me this, why do I keep having this mentality of it's so hard to say? But yeah, it is a bit of a projection, I think, because I've heard it so many times that now I just preempt that response and try and make it less awkward for the person hearing my name.
So when I was young, up until my teenage years, I think, I was very socially anxious and reserved, for the sole purpose that I found it very tedious to have these conversations with people and keep doing all the same things over and over again. It just, every single time it would start out the same. They would ask my name, and then we would get into, is that your full name? And then I would say, oh no, that's not really my full name. And then I would go on to tell them my whole name, and then I would build on from my name into my cultural identity, where I come from. My point being that all of these facts that I had to tell them again with every single person, it felt like it was easier for me to shut myself away from people instead of having this conversation again and again. I don't want my name to be the sole deciding factor in how they judge me. And I feel like that's a constant battle that I have to fight every single day. It's not a one-off thing that I just tell someone and then that's it. I'm set for life. Every single person I meet, I have to repeat the same procedure again and again.
As an immigrant, when you move, you have a lot of preconceived notions, fears, and the willingness to just fit in. And if you start telling people off for mispronouncing your name, you're going to alienate it, or at least you have the fear of alienating yourself. Before I moved in, I was fully prepared that I'm going to get a nickname. My name is going to be shortened, butchered, whatever, as Australians love to, short form everything. Yeah, it's always been that, do I need to pick this battle? Do I need to pick this fight? Probably not. I can still get my work done, go home, and avoid a confronting.
Hold after this again. It's just, I guess, the emotional investment of having to explain all the background and the time it takes, and sometimes in a work meeting you just don't have time for all these little personal stories. So just to avoid having to spend the energy, it's not spending the energy, it's spending the time on explaining what things are, what they mean, blah. It's just easier to say, my name is Jamie, that's it. We're gonna have a baby next year. It has to work in Spanish. It has to work in English. We want the two to sound sort of the same. and she wants a good meaning for the name. I guess the reason why we've been so careful with picking a good name for the baby, we know some people get affected by the name not being pronounced. There might be some identity crisis behind it. We want the name to work where he's going to be born, but he's just going to grow in an English-speaking country, and he's going to be Australian. So we just want things to be a little easy for him with all, with all the stuff.
There's a lot of different layers to it. And I think a lot of people who grew up as children of migrants in Australia have a shared experience of not belonging to both. So being too Aussie for, the folk back home, but then being too brown for white Australia. So I think that is a really common experience for people who were born and raised here but are of different ethnic backgrounds. We do have this sort of like English Anglo mindset or pressure to conform. And so people of colour who have more ethnic names or names that are not Anglo have this pressure to like Anglicize them so that they can, fit in with the rest of the culture and have some sense of like belonging in the space.
When it comes to my experiences in Australia, I've seen that a lot of people here, especially when they have really unique names from their cultural backgrounds, whatever part of the world they come from, they usually anglicize their names or they somehow make it shorter. But in all honesty, I think even the fact that I have to think about anglicizing my name is a big hit to my cultural identity, which I would not want to do.
So when I decided to anglicize my name there was an element of, I'm gonna have to make an informed decision. In Colombia, where I'm from, Jamie, it's a female name. So when I made the decision of, I'm gonna go by Jamie, I had this little bit of a clash in my head that that's a female name, but I'm a male. Started to see that Jamie it works for both genders in English. And that's when I kind of made my peace with that. And I said, it's fine.
In my family spaces and in Filipino spaces, I've always referred to myself as Leia without any issues. It's a Filipino sounding name, so people are used to getting their mouths around it. But in every single other space, I was Leah, like the Anglo sounding pronunciation of it. I don't remember the specific instance, but I remember, I think my earliest memories of it would be primary school. And it just was. Like, I didn't question it, I just accepted it. And I was just Leah in this very white school.
At home, we spoke Turkish. My name was always Nural, the Turkish way of saying it. And when I got to kindergarten, my teacher didn't say it that way. She said Nural. And I remember thinking, this must just be my school name.
But also because I manage a program called Lucy Mentoring, most people call me Lucy. The program is not named after me, and I'm not really comfortable with the Lucy at all. In Argentina, we cut names, like we shorten names like Australians do. So I am Lu, Luchi, Luli, Lula. I'm fine with all those, but Lucy feels like not culturally mine. Lucy is a transformation of my name in a way that it doesn't sound like mine at all. It really doesn't feel like me. I'm not a Lucy. I'm a Lucia.
Leia just feels more like myself, how my ancestors would have called me. I just navigated like two worlds where I was Leia in a family cultural sense, but I was Leia in like every other space. And I didn't mind it for 31 years. I think I justified it as like, it's okay. I know how to be in a different space depending on what name pronunciation I go by. And I had to think about and unpack how and why this came about. And then I finally came to a decision to integrate the worlds and just go by the name that my parents named me. I didn't correct people in the past because I viewed the workplace as a white space. And so I was like, this is not where I bring my Filipino-ness to. Like my Filipino-ness needs to stay at home or with my Filipino friends. The white me is what I bring to this area. Then I, realized that was pretty crap and not really aligned with the values that I had developed. And, because for me that means that culture is not something that you bring to everywhere you go, and that it's something that's not respected. It's something that people can't relate to. So it's something that is that you hide. And when I made that realization, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, bring my name and love my name and introduce myself as Leia, with my full chest.
It's very important, and I put in a lot of effort to make sure I'm constantly trying to get people's names right. Like if I'm meeting someone for the first time, I will be there Googling, how do I pronounce this? But I will check with them. I'm not going in assuming I've done the work and I know how to say it. I don't think anyone would be offended by saying, how do I say your name correctly, or am I saying it correctly? I think it's a very respectful way to approach that conversation.
My advice would be just ask the questions, politely of course, and don't make assumptions. Just ask, how do you want to be called?